All right, gentlemen, welcome back. Today I've got a video on 24-hour security patrols as it applies to a Minuteman in a post-collapse United States environment. So I've got this little whiteboard here to kind of guide me along, but a couple key points I want to push out first. All of this stuff here is obviously subjective to what you're doing, what your organization is trying to achieve, and what you're comfortable carrying. Some people carry, varying types of equipment. Some people prefer the plate carrier. Some people prefer suspenders with like the whole waist molly setup and whatnot. This is just what I would carry, so take that with a grain of salt. And I hope that what we go over here today helps y'all kind of develop your own SOPs and stuff like that. If you hear any planes going on in the background, I got the garage door open for lighting, so sorry about that. So starting off with the kit. So the vest that I'm running here is an Eagle Industries RRV, and I've got various types of pouches on here, and I'll kind of go over them. The first thing I want to go over is obviously ammunition. So in this 24-hour security patrol, right, what we're doing is we're just, for this scenario, right, we're just going out of our established area. So let's say, everything's collapsed, whatever, our community has established a small fob or whatever you want to call it that we're operating out of, and we're sending out these roving patrols to go and essentially make sure that we're not having anybody established near us or there's no enemy opposition maneuvering around our area, stuff like that. It's just for security. Okay. Ammunition is still going to be important no matter what you're doing. So don't think that because you're only going out for security, you're only going to need 3 magazines. In this case, I have 3 here on the chest in this mag placard here. I've got another one here in this single mag pouch. And then I've got more ammunition inside the bag. And that can vary, depending on what you think you're going to need to carry. Other considerations might be, hey, it's the end of the world. There's only so much ammunition stockpiled, right? That can be allocated to members of the group, et cetera, et cetera. So that's ammunition. Obviously, it's going to help on these patrols if everyone has the same type of weapon platform. We can run the same ammunition. Things can be cross-loaded and stuff like that, distributed if we have to do actions on and stuff like that. But moving on from ammunition, water. Water's going to be big. So in this case, I've got a Camelback pouch. And no, you're seeing a little life straw in here, right? But that's not, my plan is not to go and start guzzling water out of the first river I see, but the Nalgene bottles I typically carry isn't in here for the video. But I did throw this little life straw in there just for the sake of the video, and we'll go over that later on. But having water on your person is extremely important in this environment, okay? You have to assume in the post-collapse world that, or whatever, you're not the biggest fighting force around anymore, right? And you may or may not get a chance to come back to your little home base or your outpost or whatever you want to call it. You just never know what could happen. When everything in this realm is survival first and then everything else falling second, having something like a life straw might actually be a good idea. Maybe not on your vest, maybe in your assault pack. Just having something for the oh fuck, right? But yeah, carrying some water on you is huge. I'd recommend at least 2 liters, and that's really pushing it, because you'll be surprised how much water you're going to go through doing patrolling and stuff like that. If you haven't done patrolling before, you tend to drink a lot of water, especially if it's hot, and damn, even if it's cold. I know I've been in some pretty cool environments, and I've had gone through multiple Camelbacks over the course of a few days to a week. Just depends on what you're doing, what you're carrying. But water is important. Don't think that not having it on your kit is going to get by, because you never know if you're going to have your assault pack or not. So moving on from water, communications. What kind of organization is a professional organization without comms? Now, you take that with a grain of salt, right? There's obviously organizations out there that have different levels. So some dudes have encrypted stuff. Some dudes are using fucking whistles. Whatever works for your unit that you guys have trained with and you have the SOP written down, use that. In my case, I have a radio pouch here. The radio that I use at work, obviously I can't bring home, but it is there. We have some other stuff. But ultimately, what you use is going to be up to your group, and just make sure that you're proficient with it. And make sure you have extra batteries in your assault pack for your radios. And then moving on from comms, medical supplies. So having a loaded IFAK, I kind of show you what I have here in mind. Just, you know, again, it's not a perfect example, but it's just what I have in here. So got some combat gauze loose in there, and then a MPAs, stuff like that, H&H. Just know what's in your IFAK, know how to use it. Make sure everyone in your group knows how to use it, because at the end of the day, if you get hit, you're probably not going to be using your own IFAK on yourself, right? Hopefully you'll have a teammate there that will be able to help you work through those issues. But that's communication, or that's medical stuff. I do want to quickly note, having a tourniquet readily accessible is fucking huge. In this case, I have one mounted to this Eagle Industries hand warmer. It's just mounted with rubber bands. It's not, you know, anything crazy, but it's just having one available to you. But we'll go over that in a second. So moving from med, I want to talk pyro a little bit. So pyro is subjective. It just depends on, again, what you're doing, what your plans are, and what you have available to your group. Not every group is going to have Pyrotechnics or demo or whatever you have. In this situation here, in this little scenario, I have two examples for you. I've got a pretty common Enola Gay wire pull smoke grenade. It's just for an example, right? The color doesn't mean anything. It's just to show you. And then I also have some clear out CS gas, and you can get this on Amazon. Pretty cheap. It's pretty effective too. And this in this scenario could act as a deterrent, right, or a non-lethal. Let's say you come across a group and maybe you don't want to start killing people or whatnot. You have another option aside from just pointing your guns at everybody, or maybe some animals, right? You guys are come up, some hogs are being crazy or whatever. Something that might help you out. But this is just what I have in this kit. So that's pyro. Unless you guys are running around with frag grenades, and I guess you can have frags. So now we're going to go on ahead and move to navigation. So in any patrolling environment, you're going to have guys with maps. You're going to have guys with compasses. And maybe if your group's sophisticated enough, you might have the ATAC platform or you know, the Garmin's, whatever. So understand that any of these items and things that you have, if you lose it or get captured or whatever, you get killed, that stuff can be taken from you, and all the data on there can be backtracked and you know, literally walk the enemy forces straight to where you came from. So, and that could be used for all kinds of things, like calling fire on your positions and shit like that. But digressing, land navigation at its very basic can be rudimentary. I have here a very simple kit, right? You got your map markers, you've got protractors. You can mod these with like little strings to kind of get the degrees a bit easier, but this is in a land nav class, we're not going over that. Paper, and then map of your AO. Okay, it's important that your maps are waterproofed. Okay, please make sure you don't go out there with a fucking paper map from MapQuest and that shit gets wet and then you're fucked. And then obviously you're gonna want to have a compass. Have a compass that's trusted. Please don't get a Timu compass or something like that. In this case, I've just got a USGI compass, and then I have it tied down, right? So if it's important like that, you don't want to tie it down. Grids for bases and stuff like that, you know, you could essentially write it down if you want. Let's say you're running the Garmin, you want to have everything written down so you don't have to remember it. That's fine too. Just again, remember that whatever you have written down on you, if you don't remember everything, and you get captured, you get killed, that stuff can be used against you and your group. So that's land nav. Okay. Also, proper route planning is going to go a long way too. Whoever plans your route for your patrol, hopefully they have some experience and they're not just putting you guys through a bunch of draws and over fucking mountaintops and shit. At least if it's not necessary, right? But that aside, so we've got one last thing on my kit I wanted to go over, which is going to be this Gerber right here. Having a multi-tool just accessible to you at all times is extremely important. You can consider this kit something that's probably going to stay in your body no matter what. So I have everything here that I might need. God forbid something happens to my unit or I get separated. Everything here should hopefully get me home, or at least allow me to survive. But we'll go on a little bit more in depth on stuff like that when we get to the uniforms. So moving on from the kit, I'm going to go over the belt. Now, this is where things get a little bit subjective, right? You can run a gun belt, and some dudes do use. If you check out my channel, I have a gun belt you can take a look at, but that's not what I'm doing here. In this situation, I have a hand warmer, and this Eagle Industries hand warmer has Small insert for your hands, go in there, nice and warm. And then a small pocket on the front, also has got some fur inside of it. And in there I've got some electrolyte stuff. I've got a small goo, right? These are pretty good for like calories and just quick boost to energy. And then extra batteries for all your equipment. Got 2 for each, you know, thing that I need. And then I've got a headlamp. All right, it's important that your headlamps have this manual red lens. Okay, you don't want to ND a fucking headlight inside of your pockets or whatever, and then this white light starts showing in the middle of the night. If it happens, you're gonna hope that you at least have to have it on red. And so that's what I'm carrying inside of my little hand warmer. You don't want to put too much stuff in here. Again, it's gonna be slapping around, hitting your nuts and stuff. So the heavier it is, the more uncomfortable it's gonna be. The reason why I chose that versus the traditional belt is, you know, let's say I can scale this up to a 48, 72 hour patrol. At that point, I'm not just bringing this assault pack, right? I'm gonna have a rucksack, something bigger, maybe a Mystery Ranch 3-day, something like that. And they just, from my experience, don't sit well when you run gun belts. It's doable. It's absolutely doable. I've done it before, but it's not my preference. So these thin straps are nice to have when you're running rucks and all kinds of shit. And they help prevent chafing, right? If you wear a gun belt for days at a time, you know that when you have weight on it, it really starts to hurt your hips for long periods of time. But that's the belt. It's pretty simple. Keep it lightweight, and that's about that. So going over to the pack. So the pack's got a lot going on here. This is an Eagle Industries Yote or Beaver Tail, whatever you might know it by. In here, I've got a helmet, extra magazines. Inside here, I've got an MRE bag, all right, which we'll go over here in a second with some stuff in there. You can also put your bladder in there. But I wanted to make a quick point earlier that you saw I was carrying this like camelback pouch, right, which could fit like a little Nalgene. You could also put like an M60 pouch, right, like this one, and slap it on there, and then just carry a 2-quart. So that's, you know, a lot more water on your person. If you feel like your AO or your environment needs, if you need to carry a lot more water on your actual body, it's up to you. But I wanted to bring that out there just for an example. But going back to the pack, so in this MRE bag, this came from a field stripped MRE. Now, just as an example here, I've got some tools, right? Typically on these patrols, you're gonna wanna have some kind of small tool to work on your weapon, right? So whatever tools your weapon might need, you're gonna want to, and that's just to tighten your screws and stuff like that. You're gonna wanna have one of those just in case. It's also important to have tie downs and stuff, but we'll go over that in a second. A small knife and a lighter. Nothing crazy, but it's just, again, for an example, you can, you know, these bags are waterproof as they are, so long as they don't get punctured. Roll them up pretty good and then tape everything down, and then you have a little waterproof bag, right? Additionally, when you're on these patrols, if you're moving into enemy terrain or enemy area, you can shit in these bags. You can shit in them, tape them up, and they're good to go, and you can carry it with you, so you're not leaving your shit around and your trash and stuff. Trash bags, shit bags, you know, whatever you want to use them for, they're there. It's important that if you are doing these patrols, so you're not leaving shit around, trash and stuff like that. So going back to the assault pack, this bag in particular has a large net area, and I like to put my helmet in there. If I'm going to do a patrol like this, I probably am not going to have, especially on a security patrol, right, where I'm not expecting contact, I'm not going to be wearing the helmet all the time. I will be wearing probably something like a boonie hat, and my helmet can just, you know, hang out in my bag and stay there until I need it. Same thing for the nods. Nods can go in my bag, or if you prefer, you can set your kit up to have your nods on your kit. You know, being an infantryman, our nods were always on our kit. It just depends on what your preference is, right? Additionally, some bags have straps and whatnot on the bottom. So in this case, I've got a small tarp actually buckled onto the bottom of the bag, and I've ran it like this for a long time with varying tarps, not this one specifically. And I was able to basically throw this bag around, and the tarp is still fine. Then when I needed the tarp, just undo the buckles and pull it out. So it's pretty handy to have some type of like wet weather protection that you can just throw over a bunch of shit. In the Army, at least for me, it was like throwing it over weapons like the Carl Gustav and the Jav and stuff at night. But just to prevent them from, you know, getting crazy, rust and stuff. But also, things you're going to have in your bag are things like food. So the MRE as it is bulky when you're trying to pack it into a assault pack. So you can field strip it, which is essentially opening the MRE, taking out all of the guts and stuff like that, and then just keeping the main entree, maybe like in this case the snack trail mix, and then I got a cheese spread in there, and you can just slap that in there. If you want, also you can pack the salt that's in there. It just depends on what your preference is, and you can carry a bunch of these, and it doesn't take up as much space as the whole entire fucking MRE bag. But if you're doing a 24-hour, I would at least probably take 2 days worth of field strip MREs. Everybody always plans 24, and then, you know, sometimes shit gets extended, fraggo. But that is one thing to consider. On this pack in particular, you've got these two side pouches, and I can carry magazines or, you know, maybe chargers for equipment, extra batteries, stuff like that. One thing I also love about the yoke is that it's got the buckle system here, so you can slap like anti-tank munitions kind of horizontally and then just buckle around them, and you can carry them pretty chill, like no impact to like your comfortability like that. It's pretty nice. Brick and brush with them like that is a different problem, but you know, it's up to you. So that's the pack kind of out of the way. I do want to move over to the uniform. So the uniform is something that you're wearing. Obviously, it's the most important thing on your body. Making sure that you're layered properly, making sure that you have adequate, like in my case, knee protection. I don't like to strap on knee pads. They kind of cut off my circulation a lot, and it's annoying. So I prefer the Cry stuff. But two big things I have on this is, one is this little survival kit here. So what this is it's got your little blade here. It's just simple razor blade. You've got your rod, and if I pop it open, boom, like magic. If I pop it open, you've got a fire starter kit, right? So in that whole Minuteman, you know, grid down scenario, fire, camouflage, layers if you need layers, okay? That's gonna be huge just for your general straight up fucking survival. Now this is assuming that, for God forbid, you somehow lost your chest rig or whatever. Having something to camouflage yourself and essentially survive is going to make a huge fucking difference in your survivability. With that being said, also, we've got a face mask here. Face masks are important. Face masks are cool. They could be for PID prevention. It could be for, you know, maybe protection against bugs and stuff like that. There's a lot of uses for them. They're good for the cold. Again, it's a face mask. They're pretty self-explanatory. If you've been in the military, if you have done anything out in the sticks, you know having a face mask is important. And then obviously I just have pen and paper here. That's pretty standard with most of your uniforms and stuff. It could have frequencies. It could have, you know, pace plans, whatever you might need. Again, if you're going to be killed or captured, try and destroy this stuff as best you can. Now layers. For example, here, I just have a pair of layered pants. I don't even really use layered pants, in my opinion. When you're doing something like this, 24 hours or even 48, 72 hours, it's just typically not cold enough to justify, at least where I'm at, down in Texas, to justify bottoms layers. And I even use these in like Germany and like all of like the European, you know, rotational missions and stuff like that. I never used bottoms ever, and if I was using some kind of silks or something like that, it was only the tops. Typically for me, it was going to be like the Whoopee liner, the poncho liner, the one that just goes under your field top, and I wore that. But it's up to you. These days, I have been using like the PCU tops. They're pretty nice for insulating against wind and light rain, but once you start getting hit with like some actual heavy rain, they do soak up that rain, and it sucks. So that's a consideration. Ultimately, it's going to be up to you and your environment to dictate what type of wet weather gear you're going to need. So I got the PCU. I've got a tarp there. Maybe it's somewhere in between where it's an actual wet weather tarp and nothing else. Understand where you're working at, what weather conditions you're typically going to find, and make that decision for yourself. Lastly, I've got a boonie hat here. It's pretty simple. You're gonna want something on your head to protect you from the sun and stuff like that if you're not gonna be wearing your helmet. And then obviously some level of camouflage. Not everyone has, you know, green and brown hair. I do want to go over for our final thing here is your boots. So footwear is fucking huge. If you don't take care of your feet, you're not going to be effective or even maneuverable in any case. Now, 24 hours is a pretty short duration when it comes to patrols, because they do get out there, you know, or I guess extended field stay, excuse me. But it doesn't mean that you can't plan properly. Plan properly for your footwear. So I've got two examples in front of you. One pair here is a Gore-Tex Solomon boot, right? It's got a wet, like a waterproof lining, kind of on the lower side here, which basically when you're running around and you step in a like a puddle or some shit, your foot's not going to be sopping wet like it would be with one of these. Okay. It's definitely got solid heel protection, good tread, etc., etc. This is a good durable boot for long-term patrolling or whatever you're going to be doing, hiking and stuff like that. Now, that being said, maybe you're not out there patrolling in the woods. Maybe you're running around urban terrain, you know, mount stuff. Maybe having something faster, more lightweight is what you're going to need. Ultimately, it's going to be up to you. It's going to be on you to make that choice. And the best way I consider to prepare for that is try out different boots. It can get kind of expensive if you're buying 1,000 pairs, to try and do as much research as you can. But try out different boots. See what you like. See what your feet like. A lot of guys have, you know, insole problems. If you've got, you know, if you're flat-footed, man, go get some fucking insoles made, right? Take care of yourself. Because it's cool to have all this stuff, and then you get out there in the sticks, and you realize you don't have proper insoles for your $200 Loas, and now you're fucked because your feet are given out, you know, day one. The most important part about your feet, protecting your feet, is probably going to be having a good pair of socks. Now, I've used all kinds of different socks, but the ones I've always gone back to are Darn Toughs. Darn Toughs, hands down. I mean, I bought like 6 pairs back in 2018, and I'm just now in 2025 buying new socks from Darn Tough. I don't know, they're badass socks, man. They're made of merino wool. They're awesome. They're dry. They wick quick. They dry fast, and I love them. I can't say enough good things about them. Please, if you're gonna do anything for this entire video, please wear good socks. Don't go out there with cotton socks. Don't go out there with the Hanes Walmart specials. Just get some nice socks. All right, there's no point for you to be running around $200 cries and you've got fucking Walmart socks on. But that's basically gonna do it for this video, guys. I hope you're able to take away something and apply it to your kit. It's not the most perfect example. There's 1,000 scenarios out there. There's 1,000 setups out there. This is just hopefully going to give you a baseline for you to create your own kit. And then as far as weapons are concerned, again, everyone's weapon system is going to be different. So there's no point in hitting it too hard. In this case here, I have my Mark 18. I guess just make sure you have a good sling. Right, I have a Faro Concepts one. I've had it for a few years. I love it. But just make sure you have a good sling. Don't go out there don't go on a patrol with a paracord sling, please God. And then you know, weapon light, stuff like that. I know there's a company, 100 Concepts. They make stuff to like cover the weapon lights, the end caps, so you don't have like an ND. But you know, that might be worth investing in as well. And then tie your shit down. Okay, tie your shit down. It's important too. You don't want to lose it. We all like to pretend, you know, that we're ready for this end of the world scenario, but ultimately, if you're out training and you lose your fucking EOTech in the middle of the night on a 12-kilometer movement, you're going to be sad because you paid $500 for that. So, but anyway, guys, that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please comment, like, subscribe if you want to see some more. And that's be it. So, thanks a lot.